Emma Parker's alarm didn't go off. Of course it didn't. She woke up at 7:47 a.m., and her first day at Carter Technologies started in 13 minutes. Her hands shook as she threw on the first blazer she could find, the one with the coffee stain on the sleeve that almost wasn't visible if you didn't look too hard. She definitely looked. Come on," she muttered, sprinting down the apartment stairs. The bus was late. Everything was late. Everything was falling apart, and she hadn't even walked through the front door yet. Then a black car pulled up beside her. Not a taxi. A luxury town car with tinted windows. The window rolled down, and a man in his early 30s with dark hair and surprisingly kind eyes smiled at her. "Heading to Carter Technologies?" he asked. Emma nodded suspiciously. How did you... You have the look of someone panic running to their first day. Plus, you've checked your watch 4 times in the last 30 seconds. Get in." She should have said no. Her mother had warned her about getting into cars with strangers. But Emma was desperate. So she got in. The car smelled like expensive cologne and leather. The driver was casual, wearing a simple button-up shirt, nothing fancy. He had a warm smile that made her instantly comfortable. "First day jitters?" he asked, merging smoothly into traffic. "Is it that obvious? You're gripping the door handle like it owes you money." Despite everything, Emma laughed. "That obvious. I'm Emma, by the way." "Daniel," he said, offering his hand. "Don't worry. Carter Technologies is full of pretentious billionaires and fake people. Yes, you'll fit right in as long as you don't expect anyone there to actually care about anything except money." Emma's eyes widened. "Really? That bad?" "Probably worse. The CEO is supposedly some genius who made billions before he was 30. Probably never had a real conversation with an actual human being in his life." Emma found herself nodding, feeling validated. People like that are the worst. If I ever met him, I'd tell him exactly what I think. Daniel smiled to himself, keeping his eyes on the road. "I think you would," he said quietly. He dropped her off at the gleaming steel building, and Emma stepped out, feeling oddly calm. She didn't even ask for his number. She should have. 3 weeks later, Emma was a regular passenger in Daniel's car. Every morning at 7:15, like clockwork, he'd pull up to her bus stop. Oh, she'd practically run toward him now, coffee in hand, already mid-rant about whatever had irritated her the night before. "Today's complaint?" Daniel asked as she settled into the leather seat. "Jenkins in accounting approved a project that's going to cost the company millions. Millions. And nobody said anything because he's been here for 15 years. What would you have said? That the numbers don't add up and nobody's actually doing their job. But what do I know? I'm 3 weeks in, and apparently that's not how things work here." Daniel smiled. He always smiled at her rants. What Emma didn't know was that he had watched the Jenkins situation unfold. Daniel had watched Jenkins submit that proposal. He'd also watched the entire executive board, people making 8 figures, nod along without reading a single page. He'd said nothing. Intentionally. Because Emma was right, and he wanted to hear her say it. "You know what your problem is?" she said one morning, examining her reflection in the window. "You're too accepting of rich people being incompetent. If you worked there, you'd probably just go along with it." "Maybe," Daniel conceded. "Or maybe I'd be like you and call everyone out." "No, you wouldn't. Nobody does. Everyone just wants to keep their paycheck." Daniel turned to look at her properly. "You really believe that?" "I know that. It's human nature." He turned back to the road, his expression thoughtful. Human nature or human fear? Emma opened her mouth to respond, but they'd already arrived at the building. She grabbed her coffee, paused at the door, then turned back, Same time tomorrow? She asked. Always, he said. She didn't notice the way his hands tightened on the steering wheel after she closed the door. She didn't see him watching her walk into the building, wondering if this was the moment everything changed. But it was. I would quit if I were you, Emma announced one Thursday morning. Daniel nearly swerved. What? Why? Because I just realized something. You're wasting your potential. You're smart, I can tell. You understand business, psychology, people, but you're just driving around, listening to my problems instead of solving your own. Daniel's grip on the steering wheel tightened. No one had ever said that to him. What if this is where I want to be? He asked carefully. You're lying to yourself. And that's the problem with most people. They accept less because they're afraid of more. The statement hit differently when you owned the company she was criticizing. You know what's funny, Daniel said. You have no idea how powerful you are. You walk into a building where everyone's playing politics, and you just speak truth. Do you know how rare that is? Emma felt her cheeks warm. It's not rare, it's just honesty. Exactly. It's rare because most people lost it. They drove in silence for a moment. Emma was processing the compliment and the way it made her feel. Daniel was processing the reality that he was falling for a woman who had no idea he was a billionaire. Can I ask you something? Emma said carefully. Why do you care so much about my job? Most people would have gotten tired of my complaining by now. Daniel glanced at her, his jaw tight. Not because you're different, because you actually matter. Emma's breath caught. As a person, he continued quickly, not because of your job or your status, just you. The moment stretched between them, heavy with something neither of them fully understood yet. Daniel, His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression changed. A text from his assistant. Board meeting moved to 8 a.m. They need you. He closed his eyes briefly. I have to tell you something. What? But he was already pulling into the building's parking garage. Emma's phone buzzed, an urgent email from HR. Tomorrow, he said. I'll tell you everything tomorrow. But tomorrow never came the way either of them expected. The email said, Emergency all-hands meeting. Conference room A, 9 a.m. Attendance mandatory. Emma's stomach dropped. She'd done something. She must have. But what? She ran through every interaction, every email, searching for the mistake that would get her fired. She walked into the boardroom wearing her armor, the professional mask that every junior employee perfects. She took a seat near the back, trying to be invisible. Executives filed in. The CFO, the VP of operations. People whose names she'd learned from the company directory and nothing else. They looked serious. This was serious. Then the doors opened again. Emma's breath stopped. It was him. Daniel walked in wearing a perfectly tailored Tom Ford suit, carrying a leather portfolio, and took the seat at the head of the table. The moment he sat down, everyone straightened. The energy in the room shifted. He was no longer the kind driver. He was power personified. Good morning. His voice cut through the room. Different now, authoritative. I'm Daniel Carter, CEO of Carter Technologies. I believe most of you know that, but apparently some of you don't understand what that means. Emma's hands were shaking. This wasn't real. This couldn't be. 3 weeks ago, a proposal was submitted for the Northern Expansion Project, an $8 million project. The board approved it. He paused, looking directly at Emma for exactly 1 second. Her heart stopped. The numbers are fraudulent. The timeline is impossible. And the entire premise is based on outdated market analysis. Jenkins went pale. The only person in this company who flagged this problem didn't have the authority to stop it. So everyone here chose profit over honesty. Daniel leaned back, his expression cold, under everyone except one person. He turned to Emma. "Ms. Parker, you've been in this company for 3 weeks. In that time, you've identified 3 major problems with our operations. You've done it with grace, humility, and 0 regard for office politics." Emma couldn't breathe. "You said something to me that I'll never forget. If I ever met this CEO, I would tell him exactly what I think." Everyone's eyes turned to her now. "Well," Daniel said, with the faintest smile, "here I am." Emma's face was burning. This was it. This was the moment she lost everything. But it wasn't. "Congratulations," Daniel said. "You're promoted to executive analyst, reporting directly to me. Effective immediately. Salary increase of $50,000. The room erupted in whispers. Emma stood up so fast, her chair nearly fell backward, and everyone stopped talking. "No," she said. Silence. "I'm sorry, what?" Daniel's expression shifted. Surprise, maybe even respect. "I said no. I don't accept." The CFO looked like he might have a stroke. Emma's voice was shaking, but she kept going. "You're promoting me because you feel like you owe me something. Because I was honest with you in a car. But that's not fair, and you know it." Daniel leaned forward, a dangerous smile playing at his lips. "Explain." "Every promotion I get needs to be because I earned it, not because I knew the CEO was listening. If I accept this, everyone in this room will hate me. They'll think I slept my way to the top or flirted my way there. I'd rather be fired than promoted for being friends with you." Jenkins actually looked relieved. The CFO was doing mental calculations, and Daniel stood up slowly. "Do you understand what you just said no to?" "Yes. Security, status, money. All things that matter to everyone except me, apparently." "And what do you want?" Emma met his eyes. "The truth. About why you pretended to be a driver. About why you listened to all my complaining. About what that moment in the car meant when you said I matter." The room wasn't just quiet now. It was frozen. Daniel smiled, genuine and unguarded in a way he never showed anyone else. "You're fired," he said. Emma's heart shattered. "From this company," he continued, walking toward her. "But I want to hire you for something else. Something real. No titles, no salaries, no professional distance, just honesty. Just you and me figuring out who we actually are when we're not performing." He extended his hand. Emma looked at it, and then at his face. The driver was back. The real Daniel, the one she'd been falling for, was right there. "Is this a business proposal?" she asked, fighting a smile. "It's a personal one." She took his hand. The room erupted. The CFO was already on his phone. Jenkins looked like he'd seen a ghost. But Emma didn't care. She just cared about the man standing in front of her, finally stopping the act. They didn't even make it to his office. Daniel pulled her into a quiet hallway, away from the chaos of the boardroom. His hand was still holding hers, and he didn't seem willing to let go. "I need to explain," he said. "You need to explain a lot," Emma replied, her heart still racing. "Starting with, what was that? Do you remember what you said to me that first day? About people with money forgetting what real life is?" "Yeah, that was the reason, for everything." Daniel ran his free hand through his hair, frustrated. "I've been running this company for 5 years. Before that, I was building it. My entire adult life has been about money and power. And somewhere along the way, I stopped knowing if people liked me or my bank account. Emma's anger softened slightly. So I started doing things. I'd pretend to be different people, construction workers, baristas, drivers, to see how people treated someone they thought was powerless. That's manipulative, Emma said quietly. I know. You literally lied to me every single day. I know. And her voice broke a little. I actually liked you. Daniel stepped closer. But you liked the driver because that was the most honest I've been in years. You didn't like me despite who I am. You liked me because I was listening, really listening, to what you were saying. Emma wanted to argue, but she couldn't. Because he was right. I was going to tell you, he continued. That morning I picked you up, I was going to tell you everything. But then the board meeting got moved, and I realized something. What? That if I told you in the car, you'd think I was doing it out of guilt. You'd wonder if anything I said was real. You'd spend months questioning whether I'd manipulated you. He cupped her face gently. So instead, I showed you. I showed you that I value your honesty more than I value my company's reputation. Oh, I showed you that your integrity matters to me more than protecting mine. By firing me, Emma said. By choosing you, he corrected. Over every corporate rule, every protocol, every expectation. You. Emma's eyes were burning with tears. I'm terrified, she whispered. So am I, Daniel admitted. I've never done this before. I've never been just me. He kissed her then, and it was everything they'd been building to for 3 weeks, finally breaking through. When they pulled apart, Emma was smiling despite everything. So, what happens now? She asked. Daniel smiled back. Now we figure it out together. 6 months later, Emma walked into the Carter Technologies office wearing an ID badge that said, Executive Advisor, Special Projects. She'd earned it the hard way, through actual work, actual results, and actual respect. And Daniel had kept his distance at the office. Professional, appropriate. It had been torture. But he'd insisted. I need people to know you didn't get this position because of me, he'd explained. I need them to see your actual value. By month 3, even Jenkins was nodding when she brought ideas to meetings. By month 6, the company had saved millions by implementing her strategies. Strategies that came from that honest perspective she'd always had. The promotion came down officially, not from Daniel, from the board, based on merit. That night, they celebrated alone in Daniel's penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the entire city. Emma stood at the glass, and Daniel came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. You did this, he said. We did this, she corrected. You taught me how to actually work in a corporate environment without losing who I am. You taught me something too. She turned to face him. What? That power isn't about how much money you have. It's about who sees you as truly worth their time. He reached into his pocket. That's why I want to ask you something. Emma's breath caught as he got on one knee. Not because you're impressive, not because you're beautiful, though you absolutely are, but because you're honest, because you challenge me, because when I'm with you, I don't have to pretend to be anyone. He opened a small velvet box. Emma Parker, will you marry me? Not someday when we have it all figured out. Now, messy and uncertain and real. Emma laughed through her tears. Yes, obviously yes. He slid the ring on her finger, and they stood there, holding each other as the city lights twinkled below them. This is going to be an interesting story to tell people, Emma said. Oh, absolutely. We're going to leave out the part where I was creepy and lied about who I was. Definitely. Daniel pulled back to look at her. Thank you. For what? For being the only person who saw me when I wasn't trying. Emma kissed him again, and in that moment, neither of them was thinking about money, status, or power. They were just thinking about each other. And that was everything.